We play and call it work.
Hey folks, Janene from MiniWarGaming here with another how-to video for you. In this video, we're going to continue painting this Khador Destroyer Heavy Warjack, and we're going to do one of the final steps, which is going to be to finish his axe, and we are going to paint it like it is an ice axe. As always, if you have suggestions for something you want to see in a future how-to video, please leave it down below in the comments. Alright, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to paint the whole axe with a really nice dark purple. In this case, we're going to use Nagaroth Night mixed with a little bit of Lamian Medium. There's nothing fancy about this step. I just want to do a nice all over layer, making sure the whole blade is coated as well as the little spike on the back. And it's going to take me a couple layers to get a really solid, smooth coat. Now that we have that dark purple down as our base coat, we're going to do a heavy dry brush using Khador Sky. And I'm just going to brush this over the whole blade. Once we have the Khador Sky dry brushed onto the blade of the axe as well as the spike on the back, we're going to mix a little bit of Lamian Medium into our paint, and we're going to smooth out a couple sections. So we want to paint this on most of the blade. We're going to be concentrating the lighter colors at the top. We want to grab all of the edges around the axe. I'm also going to take my fine detail brush and I'm going to add some jagged scrapes through the color. This is going to kind of simulate cracks and jagged ice. Here's the axe after the first Khador Sky Blue highlight's been applied. We're going to do this on both sides of the axe as well as that spike on the back. And our next highlight is going to be with Techless Blue mixed with a little bit of Lamian Medium as well. So we're going to layer this onto the blade. We want the color to start about halfway up and then gradually become brighter. We're also going to use this as a highlight over all of these jagged scrapes that we painted, and we want to put it on all of the edges. We're also going to take this Techless Blue, and on the line where the blade meets the flat of the axe, we're going to start to create a few geometric shapes that kind of break up that straight line. Here is the front of the axe after the Techless Blue, and then I'll show you the other side as well. The next color we're using is going to be Lowthorn Blue, also mixed with a little bit of Lamian Medium. We're going to blend this onto the blade of the axe, really focusing the color about a third of the way up. Though as I highlight, if I feel like I need to take it lower, in this case I'm going all the way down to about half of the blade, that's okay. I want to make sure that I use this color to highlight every edge, and then I'm also going to do a highlight in all of these scrapes to really start to make them very bright. Here's both sides of the axe after that highlight's been complete. The next step is going to be to take a little bit of Ceramite White and we're going to mix it into our Lowthorn Blue at about a 50-50 ratio. And again, I'm using this to highlight the blade and all of the scrapes. This is really just going to be applied to the edges, and I consider the scrapes an edge in this case. We're doing this because the traditional look of an icicle axe, as traditional as that can be, tends to be a shape that's very multifaceted, kind of like a diamond. And since it has all of those different planes on it, each one of those would catch the light differently. At this point, I'm also going to use this color to straighten out some of the shapes on the axe, just because I want it to look very jagged, so it would have very sharp angles and not necessarily any curves. And then also, just because I think pushing contrast is very visually pleasing, I'm going to do a little bit of a heavier highlight of this on the bottom of this blade. Now that we finished highlighting with our 50-50 mix, we're going to do a final highlight using some pure Ceramite White. As I apply this to the flat of the axe, I'm really just putting it in places where these jagged lines meet. And I'm not going to be highlighting all of these different shapes. I'm going to pick about half of them to be the brightest parts of the axe. And then as I move to the top of the blade, I'm going to use the white to do the same thing I did with the rest of the axe. I'm going to be painting some very sharp shapes in this brightest highlight to break up the solid straight lines. And then I'm doing another final highlight along the very edge. Here is the front of the axe complete. I'll turn it around so you can see both sides. If you'd really like to take this ice axe to kind of the next step, you could add some icicles to it using water effects like I showed you in a previous video. The next step would be to paint all of the trim and the haft. And I'm not going to make a video on that because I'm going to be using the same metallic techniques that I have on the rest of the Warjack. But it was easier for me to paint the blade first before I did all the metallics on the axe so that I could do some sloppy dry brushing without having to worry about slopping over. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more videos, I have another one where I am going to do a snow base on this Warjack in the MiniWarGaming Vault, and the link down below in the description. If you don't already have a Vault membership, you can click the link and sign up for a 7-day free trial. You can get access to my video as well as hundreds of other videos in the MiniWarGaming Vault. So go ahead, click the link, start your free trial, and happy wargaming.